Hi there. I told some people, someone was asking about how to make the finished edges on their scrunchies kind of look a little bit neater because they didn't have a serger. And I said that I would post a video of how I did mine and show you guys exactly what I did. So hopefully y'all can see it. Basically, I actually do have a serger, and I was just being really lazy. I didn't feel like pulling it out. So I kind of figured out how to make my seams lay down flat without actually, and make them look really neat without actually having to pull out my serger. Um, but I don't know if you can see, I actually did these in a contrasting thread so you could see it a little bit better. And if you can see here, I used a 3-stitch zigzag. So like each of these little, each leg of the zigzag is actually 3 stitches. I have a brother, and on mine it's stitch number 5, but let's see if I can move the camera. I can show you which one it is, and I don't know. Okay, let's see. It's this one right here. See, it has the 3 stitches that make each leg of the zigzag, and it's a stretchy stitch, and for me it works. That's the one that works for me. So basically these scrundies have the fold down waistband instead of the attached waistband. So what I did when I folded down my waistband and I sewed it down, I actually sewed it with the wrong side facing instead of the right side facing. Normally when I do these kinds of stitches, I actually do it with the right side facing, and it's just so that I can like see a little bit better and make sure everything's straight. But for this, I really wanted to make sure that I got the stitching like half on the actual underwear and half on the edge of the waistband. So basically the very edge of the waistband is riding in the middle of my zigzag stitch, if you can see that. So basically what that does is not only does it make it a little bit neater so you don't have any unraveling, which knit really doesn't unravel that much, but it also keeps that edge nice and flat so you don't have any of the roll up, because the knit will actually roll up on you. And I'm kind of, I don't like scratchy things on me and stuff, and little bulky places, and like the seams usually kind of bug me. So this just kind of makes for a flatter seam, and it just wears better for me. So what somebody wanted to know as far as like the leg bands, was how I did the leg bands. So what I did was I went ahead, and this is actually a new pair that I sewed, and I did the leg bands. So basically here's my seam for my leg bands. As you can see, I have my 1/2 inch seam allowance. And what I did was I went and I took a pair of scissors and I trimmed. I'm gonna see if I can do this on camera, make sure I'm in camera for y'all. I basically went in and I trimmed the excess like really close to the stitches. Just, you want to be careful. You want to get close, but that's kind of a hard piece right there because it's on the seam. You want to get close, but you just want to make sure that you don't end up cutting your stitches. So just a little bit, like a 1/16 of an inch, you want to get super close. So then after you do that, what you want to do is you want to go to your iron and you want to open up your seam, and you want to actually iron your seam so that it's on the brief side. So not, because it's going to want to roll back, especially this, because the material that I used for this leg edging is actually a t-shirt material. It's not, and this one's a little bit thicker, so it's going to roll back to the side of the thinner material. So because this one's a t-shirt material, so it actually was from a t-shirt that I recycled, it's wanting to fold back on here, but I don't want that. I want it to fold over to the brief side, because when I go and I do my top stitching, it's going to be on the actual brief and not on the edging. So what I want to do is I want to catch that seam. So I went ahead and I did the other leg and I got it all nice and trimmed. And went ahead and got it ironed. And so basically now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew it. And I do actually sew it on the right side because I want to make sure that my seam placement is correct. And basically what I do is I will stitch about a 1/16 of an inch from the edge. And what that's going to do is I'm going to use that same 3-stitch zigzag. And what that's going to do is it's going to catch underneath, it's going to catch the edge of this seam, so that it's going to make it kind of lie flat, just like we did in our waistband, but we're going to do it from the top side because we want our top side stitches to be all straight and even and neat. And it doesn't really matter what my stitches on the underside looks like because nobody's gonna see those. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna sew that really quick. And let me see if I can get that going. And I actually want to start off underneath by the crotch because then my seams are hidden. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this, and I tried to zoom in earlier to see if I could zoom in, but this is kind of how I don't know if I can. Woo, okay. Let me see if it'll focus. Okay, I don't know if you can see it, but you know what, hold on, I can show you. On my foot is, okay, on your foot, you have this little hole right here. And this is where your needle moves back and forth inside the machine. So what I do, because my machine, for whatever reason, this is a new machine, so I'm still getting adjusted to it. My machine sews on the left. It doesn't sew in the center. Like I have stitches that I can use to make it sew on the center, but for whatever reason, it, like all the markings and everything on my base and stuff are all like kind of shifted to the left, like 1/8 of an inch or something ridiculous like that. So what I do is I kind of eyeball it so that as I'm sewing, the bare edge, if you can see where the turquoise is, I do it so that the bare edge of the white of my leg band is riding just on the edge of that hole. So let me see if you can see that. Oh, no, because I'm not in frame. Let's see if you can see that. You can see where a little bit where the teal's peeking through. I kind of do it just so that it's on the very edge. And that gives me just enough room so that I have a nice little distance away from my edge here, and it catches, if you can feel, you can kind of see it a little bit. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but this is where the edge of my my seam is. So basically my needle's gonna my stitch is gonna end up about right here, and it's gonna stitch across and it's gonna catch that seam underneath. So let me put this back on and we'll sew, and come on now. I will show y'all how that's done. Okay. So let me fix this. And I purposely used a contrasting thread on this just so I could show you guys, because I was trying to show somebody before on another pair that I had, and you couldn't really see the thread because I used a white thread and it was white on white. So let me get going here, and I'm on the right stitch. Yes. Okay. Go ahead and sew, and I don't know if you can see it, but I'm just feeding it so that that teal is just, what is going on here? Okay, this was pulling, so that that white edge is just feeding through the edge of, I can just see the teal barely peeking through that hole on my right hand side here. So we're just gonna go and we're gonna feed that through. And I'm also just tugging it a little bit through in the back, because with knits sometimes you don't really want to stretch it a lot, but with knits, a lot of times knits don't like to feed through properly. They kind of like to bunch up, and it's because they're stretchy. So basically the feed dogs just try to feed it through, and it's kind of like running in place So you might have to give it a little bit of tug on the back if you're having problems with your machine, with your stitches and stuff being even. Just, you know, you don't have to really yank it. You're really not really trying to stretch the material. You're just kind of giving it a little bit of help. And I probably should have took my free arm off of here, but I didn't. So we're just having to feel it and tug as we go. Kind of thing. Let's see, I'm coming back around. I'm gonna get that out the way. So instead of using reverse stitch on a zigzag, because I don't know, it just bugs me. I try not to do reverse stitches unless I have to. If I know another seam's going to run across my stitching, I just go, because that other seam will lock the stitching down. But like for this, instead of doing, cut all my threads here, instead of going and doing like a reverse stitch to lock it, I just sew like an extra 1/2 inch to 1 inch past my starting point, and that'll lock down both of those stitches on both sides. So now, as you can see, I have my edging stitch, and it's about maybe 1/4 inch. This is a little bit farther away than what I normally like, but this is my edging stitch, and if you look on the back, we can see that that stitch went ahead, and not right here because it rolled a little bit, but it went ahead and it caught, but it did a pretty good job of catching the majority of where that stitch was. I'm trying to make sure you guys can see me. Am I in focus? Nope. Okay. Just to make sure, let me back out just a little bit. Oop, wrong way. Okay. Okay, just to make sure y'all can see me. Okay, so as you can see, like, we did a pretty good job of catching that underneath part where that seam was, for the most part. It didn't catch right here in this little spot, but we did pretty good. And this was a little bit finicky because, like I said, this material, this blue, was a t-shirt material, and it liked to roll and it liked to get out of the way. I had some problems when I was cutting it, when I was trimming it. It was trying to roll up on me and stuff, but you can see we did okay. And on my other pairs of pants, on my other pairs of Scrundies, it kind of worked out a little bit better. I caught it a little bit better. So, but oh well, this was a learning lesson. It was the first time I actually used like a recycled t-shirt to do this. The other ones were all like yardage material that I already had. But that's just a good way to finish off, do your top stitching, and kind of catch your seam underneath if you don't have a serger. So I hope that helped. And if you have any questions, just post them below and I'll try to ask them. I'm trying to answer them as well as I can. And I hope this was helpful. Bye.